What's up everyone? It's spring 2020 and what that means is that we are in quarantine. Once we got the order that we had to shelter in place, I knew that I really needed a project to take on. And so I decided, like a lot of climbers at this time, to build a climbing wall in the backyard and wanted to take you guys through a step-by-step process. Here we go. All right, so it's April 2020, and we just got the shelter-in order extended to May 4th. Thought this would be a good opportunity to go to Lowe's, get some supplies, and get some projects done. I will be doing everything in accordance to keeping others safe. Got the masks, I will be washing my hands, and I will try not to touch too many things while I'm in the store. Here are my schematics that I came up with for the build of the wall. It's definitely to code. I got a couple ideas from watching some YouTube videos and then kind of just dissected them. Safety first. Not being used for adventures, but at least it can carry a lot of stuff. Gotten home, pretty much gotten all of my supplies together. I might have one or two more runs. And I think the first thing I'm gonna do is cut the plywood, stain it or paint it. From there, I'm gonna start working on the framing. But from there, it'll be putting the Tnuts in to the plywood, getting that all sorted and ready to put holds on it. So I went with a 3/4 inch plywood. I'm 6'5", 205, so it's a lot of weight and a lot of leverage to be swinging around on the wood. So I wanted to get it thick enough to where I wouldn't be ripping any holds off the walls or anything like that. So I'm taking this piece of plywood and I'm cutting it in half, 2 foot by 8 foot. And basically I'm gonna use that as the lower section, and that'll make it so I can add a hinge to it so I can change the angle of the wall. And then the other 2 foot of the plywood is going to be added to the very top of the wall. So this thing's going to be 8 foot by 10 foot at the top. So in total it'll be about 12 feet. For a first build, this is kind of a monster, but we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna prep the wood. I'm gonna router all the edges and give it a light sand just to get any slivers and sharp edges off. Now I'm going to use a snap line and grid out all the plywood. I'm thinking a hole every foot, so each square foot is going to have 4 holes. I think that should be enough for the amount of holes that I'm going to be putting on this wall. But once I get it gridded out and can kind of get a visual on it, I'll see if that's enough holes or if that's too many holes. The hole every foot, which is 4 every square foot, looks pretty good. On the edges of each board, I just came in 2 inches. It feels a little bit close. I think I'm still just gonna roll with it. How's it going? Better, now that you're here. I'm gonna be drilling the holes and priming all the wood with primer sealer, and hopefully that'll keep it from delambing and all that. All of my boards cut to size and stained, and now I'm ready to screw them together. I'm going with a 19-inch spacer, and I think standard is 16 inches apart in between boards, but I'm trying to save on weight a little bit just so I'm able to get it erected and up. I think 19 inches in between boards should be completely fine since it's a 3/4 inch plywood. framing done and just putting on a couple more coats of primer, and then from there kind of have to wait. Still waiting for the climbing holds and the Tnuts to arrive. So once those show up, we'll be able to pound those into the back of the plywood. But I guess the only thing from here on out is to choose a color for the wall. So that should be interesting. So with most garages, there's a lot of leftover paint from past projects and stuff. So for the wall, we have decided to take old paints and just mix some colors together and kind of see what comes out of it. So I made painting her job, and she came up with this cool, like, gradiated look.
Turning into an art project. Pretending I know how to do art.
So I'm just gonna be the roller. I'm gonna roll on the bulk of the paint on to the pieces of wood here. And then she'll come back in between me rolling and kind of get that gradient look with a brush. Look at that. Cool canvas. So we're starting to finish up all the painting. Honestly, this project wouldn't have taken so long, but since this climbing wall is going to be outside, we want it to last. So sealing it up and painting it, that's been like the most time-consuming part of this entire project. Other than that, all the building and cutting and, you know, screwing in and all that, that is like fairly quick. So if you're building this inside, honestly, I think you could probably build it within a day. All right, so paint's done. Now it's time to pound in the Tnuts. I only have 100 right now. The holds still aren't here, so that'll give me 115 when those show up. So mostly gonna do all of the top ones and then start filling in a little bit of the bottom ones and kind of just leave it at that. And then when I get more, I can always put them on later. So yeah, I'm gonna flip these boards over, get pounding. Little bit of extra paint in the hole, so some I might have to bore out. So these are the support legs. These smaller ones I cut to about 4 feet and then put in bolt holes on each end about 3 inches down, and those will be the supports for where the two boards hinge together. And then the lean-to legs, I just left it 10 feet long, and then I drilled a hole every foot, and then that should give me my different angles for the wall. Next is pretty much just assembling the wall. I'm gonna take it from the driveway and put it over into that corner, attach the hinge, and yeah, connect the two pieces and then put the plywood on. So I wasn't really sure which hinges to go with, but I knew that a lot was probably better than a little. So I got 4 hinges, and they're just heavy-duty gate hinges. There's no like weight rating or anything like that, but I think it should be enough for this particular situation. So probably gonna pre-drill the holes and then screw them in. Okay, I haven't put too many hinges on before in my life, so not sure if you have to have them any sort of specific way, but moment of truth. Seemed to work fine. Awesome. All I have to do now is attach the legs, and I'll probably bolt these first 2 in, bolt only the top swivel points in, and then raise this thing up. Legs, I used a 1/2 inch thick bolt. The original ones that I bought were 6 inches long, which is a little excessive. So I figured out that I had to get 1 more pair, and I got those at around 4.5. And that's plenty long, especially if you're just going through 2 2x6s, because that's just 3 inches. So you don't need all that excess. I just tried to lift this thing on my own, and it's pretty heavy. So what I think I'm gonna do is get it flipped over, get it standing, get it supported, and then from there I'll attach all the plywood. Yeah, once it's up and supported, plywood will go on and I'll figure out a way to attach them. Supports in. Now it's time to put this bad boy up. All right, it's up. Time to put on all the sheeting. Figured out that once you got the lower ones on, all you needed was a support to kind of wedge in the one above it. So we would just drop the legs down on each side and then attach these two blocks right here and then basically wedge in the plywood on top of that. The lady helped me and she was able to hold it up while I got some set screws in there. So the ground isn't perfectly even, so took a 2x4, notched it out, made a nice little spike, and I'm gonna pound it in and then attach to the side of the frame, and that should stop the side to side wobble. And I'll give it enough room so it can be adjustable for when we have to tip it. Apparently the holds got lost in the mail, so I think they're gonna be here. It's gonna still take like another couple of days, but pretty much just have to put in the rest of the screws, and yeah, done. Look what finally came in the mail. Got my holds. Definitely want to say big thanks to Metolius. As I was trying to find them, I called them probably 10 times, and they were very nice and gracious. I'm excited to learn how to set some routes. Before putting on a bunch of holds, I wanted to do a couple of modifications. The board was still a little rickety, and I think that's just because it's sitting on uneven ground. So I went to the back and pounded in a few posts and then screwed those in to the back and then added this strap, which was always a part of the plan, but I hadn't put it on yet, and that definitely shorted up. Time to put some holds on. Definitely need to work on my route setting skills. That and having a limited number of holds is like, I guess that's my excuse. But I got to figure out how to use them well. So that was my process for building the climbing wall. Yeah, it was a fun project, and I hope you guys can, maybe figure out your own walls. All right, see ya.